Anything that falls outside the parameters of like cancer are completely underrepresented. If you have kidney disease, yeah, nothing for you. Lung disease, nothing for you. If you got heart disease, nothing for you. You could watch a 2 hour program and you'll get like 100 Shriners commercials, St. Jude, cancer centers, convalescent homes, a place for mom, all that stuff. But if you get kidney disease, not a peep. Out of all the years that I've been doing dialysis, that I've been on a transplant list, I think I've maybe seen one commercial of a woman asking for a donation, a kidney transplant donation, and she probably had to pay for that herself. You have these organizations like UC Davis and CPMC in San Francisco bringing in like hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of dollars, because transplant is like $1 million business. And none of these organizations do anything to advertise donations. Oh yeah, they'll do it on their website. They'll do it quietly, but they don't take the necessary steps to do it on a grand scale like a cancer center or anything else. Kidney disease affects hundreds of thousands of people, and that number is growing every year. And you have these transplant centers that say they care so much, but there's no UC Davis funded commercials for advertising kidney donation or organ donation. UNOS doesn't fund advertising on major networks in major time slots for any of that stuff. It's just like, oh, well, there's just a shortage and there's nothing we can do. Oh, well, sucks to be them. If a patient doesn't get a kidney, they don't get one. Oh, well, sucks to be them. And it's like, oh, well, we got to make sure that we take care of all these cancer patients. We got to make sure we take care of them. So before my words get misconstrued, this is not the trauma Olympics. I'm not saying that cancer patients shouldn't be taken care of. That is not what I'm saying. My mother is a stage 3 breast cancer survivor. And several members of my family have died from cancer. What I'm saying is that if a transplant center, any transplant center, anywhere in the world, decides to take on that responsibility, they can't do it half-assed. They got to go all the way. Promote kidney donation. Promote deceased kidney donors. Promote if, in the untimely event that something happens to you, put that your organs want to be donated to somebody. Advertise these things, because it is a staggering amount of people who don't know anything about this. And then you combine these big organizations like UNOS and UC Davis, and you combine that with patients that don't want to share their experiences and don't want to talk about what this is really like. Not just the pretty sunshine and rainbows version of what they want you to see, and then nothing gets accomplished. I believe that change comes from being educated. Change can only really come about if you know what a thing is. Then it can be changed. So let's say, for example, if the only place that any of this stuff is being advertised is on the UC Davis website, right? Or the CPMC website in San Francisco, that's not getting out to the masses. That's not getting out to a wider audience. It just becomes an echo chamber. You're just saying things that people who already know this already know. People within the business of like transplant and dialysis are like asking me questions because they don't know. It's just a job to them. Like the reality is that the average person is not going to go out of their way to learn this stuff. You have to present it to them. people who have members of their own family dealing with the same exact thing that I'm dealing with know nothing about what any of this stuff is. They don't know how transplant works. They don't know how kidney donation works. They don't know how dialysis works. Nothing. Even some patients who are actively doing this, actively going to dialysis, actively trying to get a transplant, have no idea what any of this stuff is or how it works. But I bet average Joe Blow, you know what Shriners is, you know what St. Jude is. If you ask Joe Blow, where's the local transplant center near you, they wouldn't be able to tell you. Then you have transplant centers that do this thing of, oh, well, you know, that's the patient shit to do that. Like, we not responsible for educating the masses, right? We do the bare minimum. We'll put some stuff up on the website. That's done and dusted. That, you know what? Open and shut case, Johnson. We did our job. We did our part. And if somebody decides that they don't want to go to our website, oh, well. And it's just too bad. You know, too bad. Oh, well. Oh, well. UC Davis, you know, San Francisco. Oh, well. Who cares? You know, never mind that, like, all these patients waiting for years and years and years for these life-changing organs, these life-saving organs, this life-changing treatment. You know, well, you know, like, what do you want us to do? We're just the ones doing the transplants. It's not our responsibility. We just need you to just shut up and just, like, die in a ditch somewhere or whatever. You know, we'll just get you a kidney whenever. Like, who cares? And nobody in any position to do anything is ever going to hold any of these centers accountable. You end up getting kidney disease and you end up on dialysis, you need a transplant, nobody's going to volunteer that information to you. You have to go out and find it yourself. And you're going to be stumbling across stuff as you go along. And discovering things as you go along. Because that's what it was like with me. Like, nobody educated me on anything. There was no, like, packet or you know, anybody to specifically their job is to educate people on, like, what to expect. Stuff just happened. And then I just had to do research on it after the fact. And I've experienced this in dialysis centers. A lot of the individuals that could have been educating me just decided not to. They're just, oh, well, it's whatever. He'll figure it out when, you know, or they simply just don't care. And I'm like, oh, well, this would have been great if they would have told me this ahead of time so that way I know what to expect. Some of them are like, oh, well, it's whatever. Who cares? You know, he's just another slab of meat sitting in one of these chairs or whatever. And that's sad because you have some of these workers, and not in just dialysis clinics, but like transplanted, every nephrologist, everybody involved in you has all of this wealth of information they could be giving you. And they're just like, oh, well, nah, who cares? But that being said, it's also up to you to ask. There are instances where some patients just don't want to know. Like, they don't care. They don't want to be active participants in their own healthcare. I've experienced patients where it's like, oh, well, my doctor told me I had to come here. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm here. My doctor told me to come. So I'm just doing this. I've also experienced this. Is, you know, you are in like these deep waters. It feels like you're drowning and all you want is somebody to tell you something. And they just blow you off because they can't be bothered. Oh, well, you know. Like, I don't really feel like talking to this patient about, like, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to get to lunch. And that's sad because you have so many patients out here doing this that could be easily better equipped.